Om Vasudevasutam Devam Kansachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we will discuss some very important verses of the Gita. Of course, in the Gita all the verses are important. So we have selected a particular topic, as we know. What is that? The divine attributes. Divine attributes means, why are they called divine? Because Shankaracharya says, they, if cultivated, will enable us to realize our divinity. That is why, since they chalk out a pathway for reaching the divine, that is why they also are called divine. So both the divine and the demonical qualities have been mentioned in the Gita. Because in our life's journey, we should know what to cultivate, and we should also know what to avoid. Both are very important. In all our scriptures, they say, cultivate the company of good persons. But they also say, avoid the company of those who are not so good. And they also mention the qualities of those persons so that we can compare and know with whom we should associate and from whom we should maintain a good distance. Both are necessary. So here also, Sri Krishna, in our scriptures, the analysis is so tremendous, it is so threadbare that they leave no room for any doubt. Everything is answered. All our questions, all our problems are discussed in such detail, and for so many days we have been discussing all these at the Vedanta Society, so now we have a very good idea. So here also, all those qualities which will lead us to the fulfillment of our goal, will help us reach us the final goal of human birth, are discussed by Sri Krishna in only 3 verses. But these 3 verses are so pregnant, they contain so much, and we have the advantage that so many saints of our country have written their views, told us how to understand the Gita, that we are very lucky that we have the writings, the original writings of these great persons, starting from Shankaracharya, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Vallabhacharya, all these people. So we will take the help of these explanations given by them, and of course, the great Swami Vivekananda and the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they are most relevant because we can relate very easily to them. They just came around 100 years ago. So in very simple language, they also tell us, and from the incidents of their life, it is such a joy to relate all these qualities with actually what happened. So all these are for our benefit so that we can learn the true import of the scriptures like the Gita and Upanishads. So about the importance of the Gita, I won't say much, it is a very big subject. So I will just quote Swami Vivekananda and one verse which all of you know. Which one? Sarvo Upanishado Gavat all the Upanishads are like cows. And who is getting the milk out of those cows? Dogdha. Who is the Dogdha? Gopalanandana. He is Krishna himself. Who partakes of the milk? It is Arjuna. Partha is the partaker of that milk. And what is that milk? Dugdham Gita Amritam. That Amrita, that ambrosia, that thing which will give us immortality. That milk of the Upanishads means the very cream. That is the Gita. So Upanishads, stands at the head of the Vedas. There is nothing greater than the Upanishads. So when something is called the gist of the Upanishads, so we can just imagine the place which Bhagavad Gita, the name itself is so beautiful. Gita, it is a song. Song, not an ordinary song. Bhagavat, it is the song of God. So, such is the importance of the Gita as told in our tradition, and the great Swami Vivekananda, what he has said, he has said many things. I will just quote a small portion. He says, than the Gita, no better commentary on the Vedas has been written or can be written. This second portion is absolutely flabbergasting. After perfection, you cannot go any further. So once a student scores 100 out of 100, there is nothing more to be done. So Swami Vivekananda, what he says, that it has not been written, we can understand, but it cannot be written, means it is the ultimate. The essence of the Vedas is hard to understand, but the Lord himself comes, he who is the inspirer of the Vedas, to show us their meaning as the preacher of the Gita. And today the world wants nothing better than that method of interpretation. This great poem is held to be the crown jewel of Indian literature. So from this we can imagine, just have a small idea of the importance of these 700 verses. And when Krishna had delivered them, when Shri Krishna had told them, he was in a very, very exalted state. How do we get an idea of that? A very interesting and amazing incident is there in the Mahabharata. So what happened once was, Arjuna had been taught the Gita by Krishna in Kurukshetra. So war was over, everything was okay. So once Krishna and Arjuna were sitting together, so Arjuna asked Krishna that maybe he had forgotten something which Krishna had told. So Arjuna asked Krishna that, can you please tell me the Gita again so that I can refresh my memory? You know what Krishna answered? He said, I cannot do that again. I was in such an exalted state at that time that state cannot be had for the asking. So even I cannot repeat the Gita. So whether Shri Krishna could do it or not, we don't know, but the thing is, we can look upon it in this way, that what an amazing thing, if we can call it a thing, what amazing spiritual teachings have been given by God himself to mankind. So let us start with these verses. So they are in front of you, those verses. Please repeat after me. We will take up half verse each time. It is very simple, the pronunciation is simple. So please repeat after me. Each divine quality, I will mention breaking up the sandhi, so it is become very simple. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Blessed Lord said, Abhayam Sattva Sanshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi Danam Damascha Yagyascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodha Tyaga Shanti Apaishunam Daya Bhuteshu Aloluptvam Markavam Hri Pachapalam Teja Kshama Dhriti Shaucham Atroho Nati Manika Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. So, Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim. These are the divine qualities. What are they? Fearlessness, perfection in purity of mind, constant steadfastness in knowledge and yoga, charity and control of the external organs, sacrifice, study, austerity and rectitude, non-injury, truthfulness, absence of anger, renunciation, control of the inner organ, absence of vilification, kindness to creatures, non-covetousness, gentleness, modesty, freedom from restlessness, non-injury, truthfulness, absence of anger, maturity, forgiveness, fortitude, purity, freedom from malice, absence of haughtiness. So it's a long list. Krishna expects too much from us. But there is no way out. There is no way out. And here we should not get bewildered by all these qualities, because the thing is, when the mind starts going towards the divine, many of these things come by themselves. So, we just have to understand them, but often it is not necessarily necessary to separately cultivate each of them, because it is like a chain. One end if you pull, many other things come of themselves. But still, it is given separately, because we should be aware of each of these qualities. So, these verses form the beginning of the 16th chapter. Why Sri Krishna mentions these, we have to see the link. That previously, in the 15th chapter, the chapter before this one, Sri Krishna had told Arjuna that, O Arjuna, he who, being free from delusion, knows me as the Supreme Purusha, he, the all-knowing one, adores me in every way. And in the last verse of the 15th chapter, that supreme knowledge has been praised by Sri Krishna. So when a thing is praised, immediately we want to know how to get that thing. If somebody tells us, oh, wonderful food in a new restaurant, immediately we want to know how to go there. Immediately someone tells us, oh, very beautiful dress is available there. Immediately we want to know how to get that. So when spiritual virtues are extolled in our scriptures, the motive is that we should also, knowing the glory of that knowledge, knowing the greatness of that knowledge, be eager to know how to acquire that knowledge. So what is the way? These three verses are the answer. If you want that knowledge, you have to cultivate these virtues. And after that, he says, you have to avoid some things which are called the demonical qualities. So, this will be our topic of discussion for the next 2 days. These divine qualities mentioned at the beginning of the 16th chapter of the Gita. So let us start discussing these attributes which it is said, like a lamp, destroy the darkness of delusion if properly cultivated. So divine nature, we have heard about it many times. Swami Vivekananda has also told us that our nature is intrinsically divine. So, how to define or how to know whether we are progressing along that path or not, whether we are acquiring any of those divine qualities or not. So it is said that the divine qualities are those good tendencies or sattvika tendencies which prompt us to practice the teachings of the scriptures as means to self-knowledge. So when we find that we are becoming eager to know what is in the scriptures and we are trying to follow those teachings, then we should know that the divine qualities are being cultivated by us. So these are the sattvika, called the sattvika or the best kinds of tendencies. And below this is the rajasika and tamasika tendencies. Rajasika means it leads to selfish activity. Rajasika person is very active. He goes thither and thither, and so he can't remain still for a moment also, always working. But generally it is only for selfish purpose. And the last of all is tamasika. Tamasika means laziness. So when these two tendencies are predominant in us, selfishness and laziness, then we don't want to follow the scriptural injunctions. So we should know we are going away from our identity. And we find that when we are eager to practice what is told in the scriptures, we should know that we are along the right path. So, the sattvika tendencies, in short, will make us engage in scripturally enjoined action. What has been told by the scriptures, do this. When we do that, we should know that the sattvika tendencies are predominant in us. While if we engage in selfishness or laziness, then we are inviting trouble. It is called sarva anartha hetu. Anartha means which are not beneficial. So it leads to all that is bad. Simple as that. So let us examine each quality what Krishna has mentioned and see how much Sri Krishna has told us in these 3 short verses. First, Abhayam. Now please see here, Abhayam, Sattva Sanshuddhi and Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti. These 3 which are mentioned, they form a category of their own. Why? Because perfection in them, perfection mind you, can only be attained when we have actually realized our divine nature. So fearlessness, purity of mind and establishment in jnana and yoga, the culmination is only reached by Paramahansas, those who have attained the goal of life. But we have to practice these also so that we can reach perfection in that. So here the first thing which is said is fearlessness. Fear we all know. Every one of us has experienced, is experiencing and will continue to experience fear in some way or the other. Till we are in this embodied state, till we are associating ourselves with a particular mind and body, there is absolutely no way of getting rid of fear completely mind. But we can get rid of fear even before we have reached the final goal through various practices which have been given by our saints and sages. So first of all, let us be aware of the types of fear we experience. We generally are not even aware. Fear of diseases, fear of enemies, fear of scandals, fear of criticism, and of course, fear of old age and death. These fears constantly beset us. We may try to hide it, but they come up again and again. Now, fearlessness has to be cultivated at all levels. At some levels, we will succeed with just a little effort. But the higher we go, the more difficult it is to get rid of fearlessness completely. But each of us can start from where we are. So fearlessness itself is a very big topic, but we will just consider it in gist because there is so much to know about this. So Swami Vivekananda especially has stressed very much on being fearless. In Murta Maheshwar, what is it there? The line Abhi Humkara. Humkara means Swami Vivekananda, his voice resounded with what? With the words Abhi. Abhi means fearlessness. And he tells us, I quote him, really, there is no greater sin than cowardice. Cowards are never saved. That is for sure. This I have seen in life. He who is overcautious about himself falls into dangers at every step. He who is afraid of losing honor and respect gets only disgrace. He who is always afraid of loss always loses. This is a great lesson. If we are always trying to save our skin, always trying to recede from dangers, dangers will follow us. Because we will see everything as dangerous. And if we are always afraid of losing, a student, if he is studying for an exam, he is constantly worrying about what will happen if I fail, what will happen if I don't get sufficient marks. So that worry itself will not let him put his mind to his studies. That fear itself will conduce to his failure. And it is true in every venture. Every venture we undertake is fraught with some difficulty. Except eating and sleeping, no other venture is completely smooth. Whatever we do. So we all, nearly all of us, have come from some other country to Canada. Such a huge distance, thousands of miles. So if you are always afraid, if I get aboard the plane and the plane may crash. So one who is always afraid of everything, naturally it is common sense that he can never achieve anything. This Swami Vivekananda tells us. So in English there is a very common expression. When we say that he was terrified, we say that he froze in fear. He froze in fear. Froze means what? He becomes immobile. He cannot move. Many accidents, when what happens? When they see a vehicle coming towards them, they have the time to move sometimes, but they cannot move. They become frozen with fear. That fear immobilizes them. This means what? Fear will not let us have presence of mind. It will not let us react in time. So of course accidents are not so common, but even in our day-to-day life, if we examine, if fear captures our heart, we cannot do any constructive activity at that. It disturbs our mind like nothing else. So that is why, as far as possible, we have to avoid this feeling for success in any venture. Then it has been said by Swami Vivekananda, now he tells us what is the cause of fear in one line. I will come to that line later. First, let us see what he says. Very few indeed are there who can understand and appreciate, far less live and move in the full blaze of the light of Vedanta. Because the first step for the pure Vedantist is to be abhi, is to be fearless. Weakness has got to go before a man dares to become a Vedantist. And we all know how difficult that is, how difficult it is to get rid of our weakness. Now what he says is very important. He says, even those who have given up all connection with the world and have very few bondages to make them cowards, feel in the heart of hearts how weak they are at moments. In one line he is told, see, again I will say, those who have given up all connection with the world, they have renounced the world, and have very few bondages to make them cowards. Here he has given the reason, cause of all fear. Bondages and cowardice. Bondages makes us cowards. And what is the bondage? The main bondage is our attachment for this world. So this we all know. That how, like an octopus, if the attachment spreads, as the attachment spreads, our cause for fear also starts increasing. A man who is satisfied with bare minimum food, clothing, and a place to stay, simple life, he doesn't have much to fear. But a greedy emperor also may be. He may be an emperor, but if he is selfish, greedy, power hungry, we may not believe it, but they are afraid all the time. Even getting a good night's sleep is sometimes not possible for them. In his later years, the Russian dictator Stalin, if you read about him, he used to be so terrified because there was no atrocity which he did not commit. He used to be so terrified that someone would come and kill him. He couldn't even sleep properly. Each food and drink which he took had to be tasted by somebody. So why? Because these people are so selfish, they are so much attached to the world that they see fear lurking everywhere. So this is one simple method for decreasing our fear. What? Try to reduce, we cannot give up all of a sudden, but try to reduce our attachment for this world. Because when we are attached to external things, we are not in control of those things. We are not in control of the things to which we are attached. It may be one person, it may be a circumstance, it may be our belongings. So the more we spread this attachment, the more avenues of fear we are opening up ourselves. Just a little examination will show us. If you have one house, you just have to worry about the safety of one house. You want to own the whole of Vancouver. What will happen? Your fear will spread everywhere, to all the houses. It is as simple as that. So, attachment, if it is not controlled, it causes bondages, and those bondages are the cause of fear. So Swami Vivekananda says, even those who have given up the world sometimes feel how weak they are at moments. So it is with men who have so many bondages and have to remain slaves to so many 100 and 1,000 things inside and outside of themselves. These things are inside as well as outside. The root is inside, attachment, which gives rise to external bondages. I want this, I want that, I want everything under the sun. So reducing this is the best method of gaining fearlessness. So, as it has been said that one can gain perfection in fearlessness when one is completely rid of all bondages, even the bondage of the body and mind. And that state can only be had when we reach the final goal, when we ourselves become Paramahansa or a realized soul. So, what is that state like? As we have seen that something when it is praised, we become eager to attain it. So, what is that state like? How will that person behave even in front of danger? That is extremely inspiring to know, so that we can at least have a glimpse. So Swami Vivekananda tells us what that state is like. So again quote him. He says, "Strength, O man, strength, says the Upanishads. Stand up and be strong. Yes, it is the only literature in the world, the Upanishads, where you find the word fearless used again and again. In no other scripture in the world is this adjective, fearless, applied either to God or to man. And in my mind rises from the past the vision of the great emperor of the West, Alexander the Great. And I see, as it were in a picture, the great monarch standing on the bank of the Indus. So it is said that when Alexander came here, he met many great souls, many great rishis from whom he gained knowledge. So Swami Vivekananda says, I see Alexander standing on the bank of the Indus, talking to one of our sannyasis of the forest. The old man he was talking to, perhaps naked, sitting upon a block of stone. Means that man had nothing, no belongings at all. What we think, the things which are needed to make us happy, he had done none of that. But his wisdom amazed Alexander. So what did Alexander say, the great emperor? He first tempted him with gold and honor. You come, I'll make you live in luxury, I'll give you so many things. So when Alexander told this, that old sannyasi, he simply smiled. As if, if a grown-up person, if an adult is to give some toys, that person will simply smile. But do you think I put any value to these? So when Alexander tempted him, that person smiled as someone smiles at a child. So that monk smiled and refused. Said, you keep all these with you, I don't need all this. Then Alexander was the emperor. How could he be refused by this fellow? So he said, I will kill you if you do not come. That is sufficient to make anybody go. And this, how did that person react? Sannyasi. The man bursts into a laugh and says, you never told such a falsehood in your life as you tell just now. Who can kill me? Me you kill, emperor of the material world? Never. For I am the spirit, I am the Atman, unborn and undecaying. Never was I born, and never will I die. I am the infinite, the omnipresent, the omniscient, and you kill me, child that you are. This, Swami Vivekananda says, this is the ultimate. This is complete fearlessness. A man can go no further. When he has realized that even the last bondage of the body and mind, when he has got rid of, then there is nothing to make him fear. So Swami Vivekananda himself faced one such situation. And he reacted only as he could. When he was wandering in India, so he was one day very tired after a long journey. He was sitting completely exhausted under a tree. And in a jungle he saw a tiger approaching. So what a normal man would do, we all know. Swami Vivekananda simply sat. He said, I could do nothing in this life. Let the tiger come and eat me, at least my body will be satisfying an animal's hunger. And he simply closed his eyes and sat. Can we even imagine such a state? And fortunately, the tiger did not come near and he went away. But this is the height which a person reaches, the height of fearlessness. So, it is very beautifully described in another way. When only we attain the vision of Advaita, the same thing has been said in another way. When everything becomes our own self, then only we get rid of fear completely. So in the Upanishads it is said, Dvitiyad bhayam bhavati. Dvitiyad means when there is something else, when there is something separate from you. Nobody can be afraid of himself. Only when we see something separate can be no fear. Some circumstance, some event, some person can harm us. But if one sees one's self only everywhere, then there is no fear at all. So it has been beautifully described that Sri Ramakrishna's example is there, no? The salt doll went to measure the ocean. So water is coming to drown the salt doll. What does the salt doll do? It becomes one with water. If you become one with water, how can water drown you? So this is expressed in Jnaneshwari in this beautiful way. That the water came to drown the salt doll. Salt doll transformed itself into water. Now there is nobody to fear. So Swami Vivekananda, elucidating this, he says, then alone can death cease when I am one with life. Then alone can misery cease when I am one with happiness. Then alone can all errors cease when I am one with knowledge itself. If I become happiness itself, then how can I have suffering? We can suffer when happiness is something coming from outside. But if we transform ourselves into happiness, happiness cannot experience misery. Only a person who is happy can experience misery. But happiness cannot experience misery because its nature is to be happy. Life can never die. One who lives can die. But can life die? Such beautiful way he is expressed. So this is the final statement. We are very, very far away, this need not be told, but it is good to know. It inspires us along our journey. So let us come down a little lower. An interpretation of fearlessness which applies to all of us. What is that? Swami Vivekananda says, defining that, what is that kind of fearlessness which each of us can apply right now in our lives? It is remaining steadfast without any doubt or vacillation in the performance of actions which has been prescribed for us. All of us have to do some action. We have some duty. And a person, if he is in the army, he goes out to fight a battle. If he is working in any office, he is supposed to be very punctual, very efficient, very dedicated. So in every sphere of life, we have some duties. And we know, we are aware how we should perform them to the best of our ability. But we know that there is something known as dereliction of duty. A person knows what he is supposed to do. He does not do it. Why? Because of this fear. He is afraid to put the effort, afraid to exert himself. So, Swamiji says, this all of us can do. That apply ourselves to the duty which we are supposed to do without any doubt or vacillation. And this, when applied, it will lead to higher things. So, expounding this, there is a verse in our scriptures. It says, Nindantu niti nipuna yadivastuvantu Lakshmi samavishatu gacchatu va yatheshtam Adya eva va maranamastu yugantareva Nyayat patha pravichalanti padam nadhira. Dhira means those who are fearless. Nyaya, from what is good. Nyaya patha, from the path which is good. Padam na pravichalanti, their feet does not shake. So the complete translation is, whether people praise you or blame you, whether the goddess of fortune favors you or goes her way, whether death befalls today or after hundreds of years, persons of steady mind never swerve from the path of righteousness. This is strength. Never doing what you are not supposed to do in spite of provocations, fear, or whatever you may call. See, in young age, what happens when we are in schools and colleges? Generally, all these habits young boys and girls pick up at that time, which they are not supposed to. What happens? A boy sitting quietly, 10 of his so-called friends will come smoking. They will offer him a smoke. No, I don't smoke, thank you. What kind of a man are you? You don't smoke? You sissy? No. They will start grinding. Now, that boy becomes fearless. If I don't go wrong with them, they'll be after me like this. They'll make fun of me, all this. That fear, he says, okay, just to make them happy, he also starts. And once you start, you know what happens. So here we see that the fear of public opinion makes us do something which it would have been better if we did not do. So if a person does not have that strength of character, that yes, I have learned from my parents, from my guru, from my scriptures, that this is the right path. And my experience, my intelligence also convinces me of that. Now, whether this person or that person, anybody who says, I won't budge from my path. If one does not have that strength, then how can one hold on to any higher ideal in life? It is impossible. Absolutely impossible. If we are swayed, wind by the wind, if we are such a weak stem we have, one wind sways us left, then other wind comes and sways us right, we can never hold on to any higher. And we lead a miserable life. Because Mr. X will come and tell us something, Mr. Y will come and tell us the opposite thing. So this strength is required at all levels, even for material advancement. So, I quote another incident, very interesting incident from Swami Vivekananda's life. They never decried material advancement. For those who they knew that for them it is the right thing. Everybody cannot climb to the roof. So when we were discussing the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we have seen that one devotee of his who later became very rich, he had a printing press also. So when Sri Ramakrishna asked him, what do you want at Kashipur Garden House? He had said money. He had said money, I want money, simple as that. And Sri Ramakrishna blessed him, you will have money, okay. Because he knew that only through, after that experience, that man can go high. So, there are two ways which have been outlined in the scriptures. One is abhyudaya, worldly prosperity, and one is nishreyas, that is renunciation. So, renunciation, of course, is the most difficult, we all know. But even for abhyudaya, even for worldly prosperity, we require fearlessness. How? This incident will make it clear. So, here Swami Vivekananda is telling his disciple, Sharad Chandra Chakravarti. Swamiji says, if you want to live the life of a worldly man and have a desire for earning money, then go to America. At that time he is telling, go to America, I shall give you directions for business. You will find that in 5 years, you will make a lot of money. Disciple, what business shall I go in for? And where am I to get the capital? For business you need capital. Swami Vivekananda says, what nonsense are you talking? Within you lies indomitable power. Only thinking, I am nothing, you have become powerless. If you cannot procure money, go to foreign countries, work your passage, go to a ship, tell them I will work for you, and you take me to that place. And then Swami Vivekananda tells him, see, take Indian cloth, towels, bamboo work, and other indigenous products and sell those in the streets of Europe and America. You will find how greatly Indian products are appreciated in foreign markets even now. In America, I found some Mohammedans of the Hooghly district had grown rich by peddling Indian commodities in this way. Take, for example, such excellent fabric as the Varanasi made saris of India, the like of which are not produced anywhere else in the world. Go to America with this cloth. Have gowns made out of this fabric and sell them, and you will see how much you earn. At this the disciple says, Sir, why will they wear gowns made of saris of Varanasi? I have heard that clothes designed diversely are not to the taste of the ladies of those countries. Then Swamiji is again, he becomes fired up. He says, whether they will receive or not, I shall look to that. Don't worry about that. It is for you to exert and go over there. I have many friends in the country to whom I shall introduce you. And I will request them to take this cloth up among themselves to purchase from you. Then you will find that many will follow them and you won't be able to keep the supply with the demand. Again, the disciple, Sir, where shall I get the capital for the business? Swamiji, I shall somehow give you a start. Don't worry about that also. You just go. Then the disciple says, yes, sir, it is so, but I cannot muster up sufficient courage. But this is the problem. Now he says the real thing. So Swami Vivekananda says, that is what I say, my son. You have no faith in yourself. What will you achieve? Then you will have neither material nor spiritual advancement. So here we see that even Swamiji is encouraging, but here also faith in oneself, always fearing, why will they get this, why will they take this, why will they take that, how will I get the money, how will I get the passage. So before even taking up he is afraid. So fear of loss, he has already lost. So this is one incident from which we can all learn. So this much about fear and fearlessness. It is a very big subject. It requires a separate discussion.